Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Ma ba'd, the question is asking about Nifas, which is the postnatal bleeding. Two questions. How do we define what the postnatal bleeding is? Does it include blood that comes out from a C-section? Does it include blood that comes out before the delivery, etc.? That's the first question. And the second question is, she was bleeding in that period of postnatal bleeding. The bleeding stopped, then it returned. Does the returning blood take the ruling of postnatal bleeding? To answer the first question, the majority of the ulama have said even in the English, postnatal is anything which is connected to the delivery. Anything which is connected. So now, sometimes she bleeds before the delivery. The majority of the ulama have said that this is not nifas. This is not nifas. Some of the Hanabila have said if the bleeding is connected to the contractions, that's when the nifas begins. Whereas the majority have said, no, the nifas is after she has delivered the child. Whether the child was alive or otherwise, it's got to do with the delivery. Now, this is important, and the reason why is because while she's in labour, if she's going through the contractions, she is still pure. So that means she still needs to pray. Yes, she can combine according to the correct opinion, but the salah is still on her. If she's not able to pray, then she prays however she can. If she can't even do that because of the pain or whatever it might be, then she needs to make qada of it. This is because the nifas has not begun. Once the nifas has begun, we know from the ahadith of Salama, Tiya and others that they were not required. It takes the same ruling as menses. They are not required to fast or required to pray. That's the first. The second question now, if she's bleeding and then it stops and then the bleeding returns, does the returning blood take the ruling of nifas? Now, this is where the scholars have differed. The first view is yes, and there is a difference of opinion as to what the maximum number of days are. Some of them have said, well, the majority have said 40. Salama radiallahu anha, she said, كانت النفساء, that the people on their nifas تمكث في عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 40 يوما, or another narration 40 يوما وليلة. They used to wait for 40 days basically. So this is what Salama radiallahu anha said. This takes the ruling of it being attributed to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is what the majority have gone with. Some of them said 60, and some of them says there's no period of end. We don't know any delay for it. But what's correct, and this is the view of the majority of the companions, let alone the scholars, is 40 days. If she bleeds with the postnatal bleeding within the 40 days, the first view is if it comes back, it stops, it goes back, and it could happen a number of times, all of the 40 days is nifas. Any blood that comes out is nifas. That's the first opinion. The second opinion is we have to wait and see. How long does it stop for? And what's the nature of the stopping? If it becomes completely dry, or she gets the clear discharge as she normally would when she's menstruating, then the Shafi'iyya have said, khalas, this is it, the nifas is over. It can end at any time before the Shafi'i say 60, but any time before the end period. Right? If she doesn't see the clear discharge, etc., they have said, then she needs to wait for 3 days. If the bleeding has stopped for a total of 3 days and she is dry, then the returning blood doesn't take the ruling of nifas. It takes the ruling of either hayd or istihada. She has to check what type of blood it is. So this is their opinion. So they're basically saying that the returning blood is not included in nifas if it goes beyond a certain period. If it is less than that, then it is fine, then it will continue as it being nifas. The third view, this is the view of the Hanabila, they have said, if she's not able to tell what type of blood it is, then we will treat it as her being, this is a view from the Hanabila, we will treat it as her being pure, so she needs to pray, etc. But at the same time, the rulings of nifas would apply to her, so she can't have relations, etc. Out of being balanced between this and that. The majority have gone with the first view, and this is the view of the contemporaries, such as Ibn Baz, Uthaymeen and others, that the returning blood, anything within the 40 days is considered nifas. And for me, that seems to be the more correct opinion. And this is in line with usul al-fiqh as well, because what we are looking at are the characteristics and the generality as well in usul al-fiqh. As long as she is now within the 40 days, she takes the general ruling of it being nifas. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants us the best of tawfiq and success, and He makes it easy for the Muslimin and the Muslimat, whatever they may be, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us future generation of goodness and returning to our religion in the best possible manner. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد.